So, again, good morning, everyone. Welcome to this collaborative webinar between Coupa, Twinzo, and Actility, where we'll be exploring how combining, ultra precise indoor positioning, load power, multi-tech tracking, and digital twin visualization give an end-to-end asset visibility solution. So we're going to be having three speakers here. Of course, we'll be having Rene from Coupa, who will walk us through their capabilities of precise real-time indoor location monitoring. Then it will be me who will be walking you through Actility and Abiway capabilities for low-power multi-technology trackers. And then at the end, it's going to be Thomas, who is going to bring all of this together in a live digital twin format, and he's going to show you about the impact and the results that we can achieve with using this solution. So as I said, it's divided into three. And moving on very quickly, today's session will be a complete geolocation solution. We'll combine and show about the hardware, the positioning infrastructure, the software, and how it solves those critical challenges, especially when it comes to indoor monitoring in logistics and industrial environments. And basically, this slide is the overview of how this comes together and what are going to be the key talking points. Now, I can tell you that every piece or every technology in its own sense is very, very powerful. But where we drive real value is when we combine them together and they work seamlessly in one solution to help you visualize the real results. So I'll not take much of the time at the start. Let me quickly hand it over to my colleague Rene from Coupa, who will walk you through Coupa's capabilities.
Yes, thank you, Abhiraj, for the introduction. Yeah, first of all, good morning also from my side. My name is René Wermke. I'm the Director for Sales and Business Development Management at Coupa. And my presentation will be about the right material at the right time in the right location. And basically, I just want to spend a few words on Coupa for those of you who have not heard yet about Coupa itself. So Coupa is a company founded in 2012. And yeah, basically, if other companies, let's say, create stories about how they were invented with, in California with an apple perhaps that was on the table in Dad's garage, if you think about Coupa, perhaps you remind that Coupa was founded in Finland in 2012 with, perhaps as well a couple of nerds, but not in a garage, but in a sauna. So in Finland, if there's one thing you need to remember is sauna is always very important. But let's get back to the serious stuff. So we are no longer in the startup phase. So Coupa is already on the market for over 13 years. We have over 50 employees and over 9 million square meters covered with the Coupa location services. We have offices all over the world, and basically our deployment have also reached over 3,000, and we are working together with partners all over the world. Our vision is to become the market leader in really accurate and real-time location information, especially for the indoor and local outdoor area. I'm going to come back to this point more specifically later on, but here are some key terminologies already. It's like the accuracy and the real-time part, meaning really instant information about the positioning. We also want to empower and connect the world, because a lot of times I get the questions, why is it so important to enable location services in today's landscape of intralogistics? Well, it's basically because we are still using the methodologies of mass productions, but everything that is produced today is individual with a lot size of 1. So the intralogistics are getting extraordinary complicated. So we need technology that can keep up with that. We also want to increase the efficiency of the intralogistics and also the processes behind with our technology. And then the next question that I always get is, well, how do you do that? And basically, what is so different than other available technologies on the market? And from my perspective, there are three major components that really differentiates the Coupa location system compared to other technologies. The first one is the methodology itself, because there are many other technologies on the market that just use also BLE technology, but only based on signal strengths. And basically what's happening there is they're using multiple locators sending signals, and they only measure the signal strengths from different locators and then making a guess, let's say, where, due to these signal strengths, the location might be. So that is not what we are doing. We are doing angle of arrival, and with this invented methodology, Coupa is able to tell the exact position based on measuring the angle from the locator to the individual object. So, and from there, Coupa has created this locator, which is then the second part, which has an array of antennas inside. And with this locator, we are able to provide a real accurate angle of arrival, which will then be provided into the advanced algorithms, which is the third part of our solution. Because from there, from all these raw data that will be provided from the locators, these advanced algorithms are calculating an accurate and reliable coordinate for the end customer. And with coordinate, I mean position. So within our system, you won't get, jumping dots on the map based on perhaps challenging environmental conditions. So here is really the core competence with the experience of over 15 years now on the market. And that's why we are one of the best RTLS providers on the market at the moment. So what are the key elements in our solution? Well, first of all, and what we want to highlight as well, is the lowest level here is the tags and the sensors or devices that you could use. So we can, as we are using BLE, standard BLE technology, all BLE enabled devices can be tracked with our solution in the same accuracy as very specific tags can be. So just imagine how big the opportunities can be created from there. Just tracking your scanners. If you are using barcodes at the moment, you could already track them. If you have autonomous guided vehicles that have Bluetooth on board, you can track them as well as your mobile or any other smart wearable that you could think of. So from there, we have the level of the network components, which is basically our locator, which sits in the ceiling and covers an area underneath of about 120 degrees. And if you just think about that, you can think of a very important factor, which is the ceiling height, meaning the higher the locator can be, the better it is for our infrastructure, meaning you will cover more area and you will have to pay less for your infrastructure, basically. Because a lot of controversies I always get when people compare our technology to their Bluetooth speaker at home when they lose connectivity after 10 meters. This is not what we are doing. So we have active signals that are covering a distance of over 80 to 100 meters. So you can really get very high into the ceiling and cover a lot of area already with only using one locator. So we have our positioning engine, which is then which sits on a controller and basically is calculating the accurate position. On top of that, you could also use the site manager or, for instance, the rules engine. And with these things, it would be a level in which you will not only get XY coordinates, you would also get information on zoning and geofencing at a certain degree. And of course, we have a very easy to integrate interface. So the key benefits altogether are the accuracy of our system, meaning we can provide and prove that in every challenging industrial environment, we will provide sub-meter accuracy for your use case. We can at the same time leverage the Bluetooth standard, which means every participant who has Bluetooth on board can be tracked in the same way. And what else is really important is the scalability factor here, because some solutions can only provide, let's say, really accurate location services, meaning you have to have a lot of infrastructure to get this level of accuracy. With our solution, you could also only use less accurate use cases. So you could, for instance, also only create presence detection instead of real-time location services using only one infrastructure. And we have a very open API interface, easy to integrate for every IT department out there, which is familiar with RESTful API. So what are the markets we are active in? Of course, we have applications in all these markets that we can imagine. And one of the markets I want to highlight is the sports, because in Finland, we are very wide spread in the ice hockey sector. And you can, I only mention this because it gives you an idea of how accurate and how real time our solution really is in this environment. You can easily imagine how quick the puck is moving, how quick the players are moving, and then providing informations for the trainers afterwards to analyze the game and do tactics, etc. So that's the technology side of it. But of course, what we want to focus in, and we want to even increase our growth, is the Industry 4.0 sector, because we can see there's a clear demand for an open and versatile and reliable RTLS solution. So where does this come from, basically? Where does this demand come from? And this is a slide that I basically have received from one of our biggest customers, because it outlines very well what happens in a lot of industries at the moment. So aside from the core competence, which can be building a car or a wind turbine or a whatever it is that is produced in an automated production line, so many of our customers in terms of intralogistics are outsourcing the intralogistics to 3PLs, to third-party logistics companies. And they are also have limitations on the space that they have for warehouses. And at the same time, they are growing, let's say, the versatility of the product that needs to be produced. Even wind turbine production means individual products at the end of the day, because every turbine is individually adjusted to its very specific point where it's going to be standing for its lifetime. And all these challenges are actually summarized here, because at the same time, you have to ensure to provide the same quality and avoid lost and found processes. And what is also very important is at every given time, end customers are always looking for full transparency in their processes, meaning also they need to know where their material is. Is it still in the warehouse, or is it already on the way? Does the third-party logistics company have picked it up in the warehouse already? Has it been delivered at the right production destination? So all this needs to be tracked and traced even more in future. At the end of the presentation, I want to give you two success stories where in the middle picture here, you can see, and perhaps some of you will find themselves here as well. So how is material moved from the warehouse to the production line? In many cases, there are still Euro pallets with a wooden frame or other whatever material carrier you have. But basically, the state of the art is you are putting paper on it, and then with this paper in the warehouse created, it'll move along until the production line. And then basically you don't even know, has it left the warehouse already, or has it entered the production hall already, or is it still full, this container? Has it been already mounted on the product itself or not? So in all these, we have replaced and digitalized now fully. Not only that we can track these pallets now, but we can at the same time also eliminate the paperwork here by using electronic shelf labels, which are Bluetooth enabled, meaning by replacing this paper, we have digitalized this part. And now that these e-ink labels are trackable as well, we have full transparency about the whole intralogistics process. There's also a back channel capability in here, meaning at any given time, if you need the worker to confirm something, they can also press a button so you have a callback into your system if this is required. And then the last example here is, so in a very automated production line, we have seen at multiple customers that there's always a digital gap. Meaning if raw material at the very beginning enters an automated production line, at some point it will leave the process and will be stored on manual carts, and from there it will go to the next process. So as long as it's outside the machine, it's not tracked and traced and not digitalized and not fully controlled. So, and with our Cooper technology, now we can really close this gap, providing a full and digital twin, actually, of the actual process. And meaning with process, I mean the intralogistics process where material is moving. Okay, and I think I already reached the limit of my speaking time. And by that, I'm going to give the word back to Abhiraj. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Rene. That was interesting to know about Coupa's technology and all of the use cases you mentioned. So now I'll be explaining about brief introduction about Actility and Abiway, followed by the use cases and how this entire solution comes into picture, and you'll be able to see how the infrastructure looks like. So moving on, first of all, my presentation is going to be about how we empower smart geolocation solutions for end-to-end visibility, both indoors and outdoors. But a very, very brief note on Actility. We are providers of wireless connectivity infrastructure behind many of the large IoT deployments globally, both public and private networks, of course. We enable low power, long range communication, the protocol that is known as LoRaWAN. And it's across industries, multiple vertical use cases, utilities, oil and gas, smart cities, logistical hubs, and so on. And moving quickly, this is, of course, a site for looking at Actility at a glance. We are founders of the LoRa Alliance as well, alongside IBM and Semtech. So we are pioneers in this technology, and this is what our bread and butter essentially is. So coming to Abiway, which is our subsidiary and is a specialist in low power IoT geolocation solutions. And what sets this apart is the ability to combine multiple geolocation technologies, that's GPS, Wi-Fi, BLE, and of course LoRaWAN, into one compact device, and it is optimized for low power consumption, which is absolutely crucial when it comes to such use cases and such tracking needs. Now, this, of course, is just to show our global footprint, how many partners we've had, more than 200K devices sold yearly just for Abiway itself, and of course some of the biggest names are relying on us during for their project needs. Well, this is about the company, this is about who we are, but majorly the focus should be on what we are here to help people who are looking for such solutions. And there are quite a lot of challenges when it comes to indoor monitoring. And what is the need of the today's projects is that you need to adapt to mobile assets, you need to adapt to diverse sites, you need to adapt to the operational needs. Also, you need to be power efficient, as I mentioned in the beginning, and that is one of the biggest advantages that we have. But there are many challenges, especially when it comes to indoor logistic tracking, such as blind spots where assets can disappear from your system. There is of course battery draining, where there are technologies which consume quite a lot of energy, and this is where you need to optimize for them, because if the power dies, you just do not see it in the system anymore. Then there are fragmented systems, because you don't want multiple systems complicating your entire tracking needs. So indoor and outdoor, they do not communicate. So there are fragmented systems, and then there are manual workarounds. So there are some of these key challenges that we have to address, and this is where we three collaborating together are looking to address them. So this is where you see the synergy, or the solution brings the three components, the three core competencies into picture. And the synergy is what makes this end-to-end stack more reliable, more scalable, and more operationally impactful. So if you have to look at this solution, this is a one-stop solution for indoor and outdoor tracking needs. And you'll be able to see that this is a solution combining low power multi-technology trackers, and as well as a modular location engine, allowing IoT applications to unlock the true power of LPWAN enabled geolocation. But how does the infrastructure look like? Now let me walk you through that. So if you are to see, this is what it will look like. Now this is the integration between Abiway devices as well as Coupa locators. And what happens is that Abiway trackers, they emit BLE signals that are fully compatible with Coupa's infrastructure. Now then these signals are picked up by Coupa's locators, which then calculate the tracker's position. And of course, Rene has explained already the technology, which is called the angle of arrival. And so they are the experts on that. Once this data has been captured, this is processed by Coupa's positioning engine, and then it is made accessible via open APIs to any application, one of them being Twinzo's digital twin interface. So this is quite powerful, and this is where the real magic of the system is actually happening. And then we go from a BLE signal basically to a real-time indoor location, and then we go to the visualization, which of course Thomas later on during the webinar will be able to demonstrate how it looks like. And this all is happening with sub-meter accuracy and minimal power consumption. So this is the core competency of the solution. Also, there is much more value add beyond just indoors, and this is where we take it one step further. So with Abiway, it adds more value. It just doesn't act as BLE beacons. It also tracks other geolocations, right? It helps with other geolocation modes like GPS, Wi-Fi, LPGPS. You're not limited. So you can, of course, request location on demand. You can get both precise indoor and outdoor, locations, and trigger actions based on motions or BLE zones. So you can trigger an SOS alert. You can also make the tracker beep on command, let's say if it enters any hazardous areas. So there is multifunctionality, and there is multiple modes alongside these indoor tracking solutions that we can help through our sophisticated trackers. Now the tracker becomes a simple, from just being a passive tag to an active intelligent node in the environment. And this flexibility is where customers derive real value, because they have a single device which can help them with alerts, with precise location, of course with enabled with Coupa's capabilities and Twinzo's digitalization infrastructure. Now this is the solution, and you see beyond indoors, but there are multiple technologies. I mentioned a lot of them, but every one of them has some use case specifically determined for them. Let's say GPS for precision outdoors, Wi-Fi BLE for indoor proximity, and then of course we have LPGPS for power efficient fallback as well. So I mentioned about the integration with Coupa and the sub-meter BLE angle of arrival technology. It adds a precision layer that makes it completely indoors, right? And it makes a complete indoor solution. So this is for your overview. Of course, I'm not going to go one by one nitpicking into this, but this is an overview to show the capabilities that Abiway trackers have. And this is a summary slide for demonstrating the real power and the real capabilities of our multiple trackers. So we have the micro tracker, we have the smart badge, and we of course have the compact tracker here. So I'll give you guys just to see, how these look like, how compact they are, what kind of, features have they enabled. And if I quote one particular one that I would like to emphasize as well alongside the use case, and of course the visualization is just coming up, which is of course the best part of the solution, is going to be on the combo tracker. Now this is where it even adds another layer, which is the cellular, that is the LTM or NB-IoT to the mix, and it gives full flexibility to operate even in areas where LPWAN coverage is also lacking. So you see, whether you are in a forklift, like Ren explained, in a forklift, in an industry, inside a warehouse, or moving across borders, we will be able to adapt intelligently. That is, you can say, the core competency, and that is where we are helping experts, or we are helping industrial experts just not worry about their indoor tracking needs as well as outdoor tracking needs for that matter. Now, once you have the location data in place, you have the technology from Coupa, you have the technology from Actility, but how do we see this, or how do we, uh, see this all coming together? And that is where visualization is the game changer, and that is where Twinzo will come in. They'll tell Thomas, who I'm going to give the mic shortly. He's going to explain how using the digital twin technology it helps teams monitor assets, can help faster response time, and even give better ROI, and that is also demonstrated at the end of the presentation as well. So this is for Abiway, this is for Actility. Of course, I'll be happy to take questions at the end. You have, feel free to show them in the chat. And without further ado, I give the stage to Thomas for presentation of Twinzo.
Hello and thank you. So thank you again for all the people that have attended. I hope that you will find all our presentation, but as well mine, something new that can help you in your daily struggles and daily challenges. So usually I would like to start is what is a digital twin. We heard from René a mention of a digital twin, and the digital twin term is really a buzzword that it's out there that many people are using, but in vastly different context. So I'd like to take a few minutes to just highlight how diverse the digital twin term can be, and what different technologies can be and use cases can be mentioned within the term, and then also frame where we are at with Twinzo. You can heard a lot about data digital twin. So in this case, being Azure, but you can get that from many providers where they are trying to get all the data somehow connected to usually a cloud provider, and are basically a big databases. Another very frequent use of digital term is BIM, which is building information management systems, that are mostly used by architects and designers and different CAD system or CAD designers and other people who are doing either whole buildings or products completely virtually in 3D, and they are creating this what we call a static digital twins. Then we have another digital twin aspect that it's a simulation. For instance, Siemens is doing simulation, visual components, and others, where you take some expectations, load them up into the software that has a physics engine, and that will simulate you most likely outcome of such parameters, and you are able to play around with with speed and with parameters of in and out to really simulate how the process might look like in the future. Or you can take that to absolutely another level. So I really like this video because it looks like a camera feed, but it's actually a capture from simulation software from NVIDIA in this case. It's called Omniverse. That it's built for basically planning, simulation, and offline programming of robots or AIs. Thanks to this really photorealistic graphic representation, but it's still very disconnected and running in virtual physics engine, which is very advanced and is used for planning and up for simulation. And then we have 3D scanning, which is also becoming very popular. So in this case, it's a video from a company called Navis that use photogrammetry and light scanning to capture the reality and create, again, what we call a static digital twin. In that case, very easily. So with a special system, you are able to do very quickly, very accurate point cloud. That's the technical term of what they do. So they do a cloud of points, basically, overlay with colors and with textures to create a representation of what you are looking at and in a digital space. And now what we do. So Twinzo is what we call an operational digital twin. So we don't do anything of what I showed further. What we do is that we connect real-time data and whatever is happening, especially on the shop floor, within the realm of 3D space. So what we are actually doing is we are recreating a reality as it unfolds and enabling different analytical tools on top of it. In this case, in real time, we are able to visualize position of forklift fleet, plus completely analyze it and replay it as a movie, what has happened, what is happening right now, and why somebody is operating in this area instead of that area. We are able to work within one building or multi-building. So combining the technologies that you saw indoor, outdoor, and across the globe. So the Twinzo itself, it's a multi-site, multi-floor, multi-everything technology. So all big corporations are able to monitor their facilities. Additionally, we are able to connect ERP, MES, Excel, Google Sheets, and different other systems, IoT systems. So we are able to capture and visualize also production data alongside with logistics, material, machinery data, and telemetry in order to provide our customers two major features. So feature number one is easy to use interface to access really complex data by anyone. So Twinzo is available on any device, and therefore it can be accessible very easily. And the second is that we are capturing the data and combining them through time and space, creating spatially oriented data set that is used then for correlation and causality analytics. So not only how the logistics is performing or what are the material flows, which zones and areas are occupied the most, launch different notifications that somebody crossed, but also looking at why this gate is open in this area and the temperature is dropping if there is no forklift present and our HVAC system is blasting full strength and we are just wasting money. So this is something that we are trying to connect everything together from multiple systems to speed up or to find places with non-value added work where companies can optimize significantly, and I will talk about the benefits in a minute, but also look for invisible correlation and causalities that are impairing their ability to process and produce at optimal levels. So in these simulations that I showed in the previous slides, companies usually build their processes in a way that are the most optimal. But the reality is very rarely optimal. And with operational digital twin, they are able to really see where the reality is not matching the optimal scenario and take actions in real time to get back to the optimal flows. So this is something that we are trying to do. As you can see, we do not operate only in manufacturing, although the manufacturing is our strongest vertical, but we are able to operate on also outdoor. This is a port in Amsterdam, or the previous was another port, and we are able to combine data from different type of 3D modeling tools. So you could see handmade models. This is a Leica scan. We are able to process Naviscan. So if you decide to use this type of technology for passportization purposes, we are able to use that as the next step and infuse live data into the systems and go up to the, let's say, machine level. So we created a system where we can do what we call a digital twin of digital twins. So you are able to basically zoom and open the machine and look at the PLC data from a machine, how it works, which helps with maintenance and speedy and correct responses from the maintenance crew. So what are the results and what are the impacts? So one of the biggest impacts we see are on the forklift operations and on the intralogistics, because historically this is very underutilized and under-optimized areas in any production, and we see this everywhere. So and especially when it comes to indoor locations, this is something that indoor locations directly enables. So on average, we see around 20% fleet reduction. So reducing operational equipment, reducing staff, and we have documented huge OPEX savings, in this case, up to 1 million euro in OPEX in Czechia. It also gives freedom to companies to think about their hiring process. So more and more of our customers are currently not looking into reducing the staff, but rather not be pressured to hire additional, because there is just no more people to hire, especially in Europe, but I hear the same from the US and other. So it's not only about just the reduction and optimization, but about doing more with less people, so we don't have to hire because there are no people that we can. With the combination of IoT-based ordering system and IoT data combined with position data, we have been able to help our customers to reduce idle times by 95%. That has been caused by logistics. So imagine that a material comes 1 minute too late and the whole production line has to stop for a minute. Doesn't seem like much, but if you have over 24 hours, 20 minutes of such time, then it can really easily translate on $7.5 million of not produced goods, which you could produce because the machine, there was no break. The machine is there, people are there, you are paying for it, you just didn't produce. So we see a huge impact on this side of also on more production. And at the last, which was for me, it was really surprising to find out that based on the data on how people operate and how the different shifts operate, companies are able to rebalance their workload. So based on real data, our customers have changed how the shifts look like. So it's no longer the same. So before they had the same amount of staff on morning shift, on afternoon shift, and on the night shift. After they saw the data, they understood that even though in theory it sounds the same, but it's not the same. because different processes operate differently. When there are engineers that are trying, new products, or tinkering with the production line, tinkering with things, doing maintenance that is being done through the day but not doing through the nights. So there are a lot of things that are impacting this the process and these dynamic environments. And based on the data and visualization and analytics that we provide, they were able to find where there are the differences and adjust accordingly. And not only this increase the happiness and stability of employees, because I don't know many people who like working night shifts. It also improved their financial performance, because they didn't have to pay overtimes, they didn't have to pay hazardous additional payments for the night shifts, and so on. So there are a lot of benefits that can come from a single technology and a new way of looking at it. And the best thing is that Twinzo is free to get. So you are able to download the application for free using this QR code from the App Store, where you can access a demo site, so you can really get a feel of how Twinzo works. We do offer also 30-day free trials, and together with Actility and Coupa, we do offer different ways how to easily start with the technologies in a bite-sized manner, so you don't have to jump the gun on a big investments before you really have the feel and taste for the technology. So there are ways how to start in iterative manner, and I strongly urge you to check it out, because it can help you transform your operations. And that is, thank you from me. I will stop. Yeah, thank you very much.
It was good to see the visualization in action, and thank you for the presentation, also clarifying about digital twin. So that is, we are actually right on mark. So that is the end of our presentation in part of the webinar, but of course we have the Q&A, and I see a lot of enthusiasm in the chat as well. So I'm going to be helping with the questions one by one. And I see, so Rene, you, of course, you have, I see at least two. I don't know if you have more, but yes. So the first question is, hello, can you also integrate with ERP systems? I am assuming this question is for Rene. While I was checking the Q&A. So Rene, if you want to give it a go.
Yeah, that is the natural, let's say, next level of software where we do provide our data into. So yes, so there are ways to integrate. The easiest is, as I explained, the RESTful Link API, which then provides a customizable amount of data into the upper level system. You can at the end decide yourself if you just need the ID, a timestamp, and the coordinates, or whatever else you would need. For instance, the zone information, or, it is fully customizable. And yes, it is absolutely standard in our solution.
Yeah. For Twinzo, it's a true. So you are able to integrate with ERP systems to also get the data from ERP, combine it with the position data and with any other IoT or system that you have, or either new or legacy.
Makes sense. Thank you, Rene. I also see there is another question for Coupa. So does Coupa tool have its own engines for clouds and meshes or 3D models?
So for clouds, so basically, so our level of integration more or less is the coordinates. And so we do not visualize like Thomas has shown. I think this is where partners of ours come into the game, and that's exactly why we've decided to do this presentation the way we did it today. So as soon as somebody needs more visual effects or more help in their environment than the actual position of their goods, partners of ours like Thomas would take over and provide these kinds of things. Meaning some of our services are driven by cloud, like the site manager, for instance, just to manage the devices locally. There are things that are cloud-based, but not the way perhaps this question was leading.
I will just add that we are able to process point clouds and especially meshes and 3D models from different vendors.
Right, so you get the sense that it's an entire ecosystem which comes to bring the solution home, but it's of course capabilities combined. And I hope it was clear enough for the question. Another one for Rene. Well, you are quite popular, Rene. Is it possible to have Coupa software on premise?
Oh yeah, well, it is possible. So yes, but let's say the standard is to have it connected, because it is just easier to maintain over time and make sure that the customers are using always the latest and greatest updates and capabilities of our developments. So the standard is to have it connected and online, but there are ways to also provide an on-premise module, yes.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you. And the next one I think is, yes, it's for me, is any or own 4G SIM card usable in Abiway Combo Tracker? Well, I mean, yes, but there are conditions again. The Abiway Combo Tracker allows, the cellular capabilities, as I mentioned, LTE-M and NB-IoT, and you can use it, but the conditions are that, first of all, the SIM must support the connectivity plan. I mean, depending on the region and the network that you're using, it needs to support either LTE-M or NB-IoT connectivity, and it also should be able to, access the APN configuration required for the device to connect. Once these two are there, then it doesn't need to be Actility branded SIM. Of course, we do have that providing that as well, but you need to have the correct plan, the correct network, and the compatibility to support it. And then once you have the configuration, you're of course able to use it. So that is for this question. I see. Yeah, the next one is one of the reasons for ThinkPark application to act as a XYZ correction or stabilization system, more more or less raw tag position data from Coupa, or will this be done in the Twinzo platform? Okay, so thank you for the question. I understand. If to understand it correctly, I think it's you're going into the very technical nitty-gritties. And I mean, the correction or stabilization of raw data, I mean, it's primarily handled by Coupa positioning. It's not handled by our platform. And it's of course it's refining the visualization, which of course I'll let Thomas also answer, and Rene also jump in. But we are not doing any correction per se. We are helping with integration, receiving, aggregating, and integrating. We are managing the connectivity. We are helping providing the APIs that can route it to the business application, but we are not doing any corrections in our ThinkPark. Rene, if you would like to, or Thomas, if you'd like to jump in.
Just technically, perhaps, and then Thomas can follow. So there are some methodologies in our platform already that provide, let's say, the stabilization. Like, for instance, there's an accelerometer in every device. Whenever it's still standing, it's not moving at all. Or in these algorithms, that's exactly what I meant. There are already methodologies inside the platform that does this stabilization. And just one last comment. So XYZ is questions, like it's 3-dimensional. So the Coupa system provides 2-dimensional data basically with an add-on Z coordinate, which is basically the work height only, let's say. So basically you will have to decide what is the height that your material is basically moving. And so that is how we are creating the data.
Yeah, from the Twinzo side, for high precision localizations such as Coupa, we very rarely do any optimization because it's just not needed with the precision that they provide. But we do have capabilities to use the software filters to, for instance, not allow a thing move through the wall. Yeah, so as you can see, then we do have these capabilities. but it's on the visualization part mostly. So we do not change the data, especially for the analytics and other things. With high precision Coupa system, this is not issue because you just don't have this type of, with half a meter, it's really really good precision. With less precise, where it can jump 3 or 10 meters, for that we use a software to clear it out. But in that case, you are trying to guess like on which side of the wall it is based on where the signal came from. So we are able to set up these barriers, and if we know that he came from this corridor and there are no doors, then there is this corridor, and to the next corridor he can only move through that direction. So this is something that we can do for less precise data sources.
Okay, thank you, Thomas and Rene. So I hope that explains. So just to sum up, ThinkPark is not doing any correction for the data. It's of course Rene, and he explained about the algorithms in Coupa engines, and of course, sorry, Thomas also explained the capabilities that they have on the software side of things to help with the exact location and so on. So I'll go to the next one. I think this is for Thomas. So can we simulate different scenarios of shop floor in Twinzo? And also, we need to create a simulation model of our shop floor to monitor over time, let's say like in retail.
Yeah, so the short answer is no, but there is something to it. Because and the reason why I show different digital twins is to show how diverse the term is, and that you need many technology or multiple technologies to solve all your needs. From that point of view, those technologies should work together, like we are working here together to create an end-to-end solution. The same approach can be taken in answering this question. So, for instance, we have a very close collaboration with a simulation company called Visual Components, and they do provide a full simulation solution where you are able to easily set up a shop floor. You are able to easily simulate different scenarios and see which one is the best one, and so on. And then you are able to export the results, especially the 3D modeling, to the Twinzo, connect the IoT and RTLS technology, set up to see what is the most optimal path. For instance, if you need to stock the shelves, like we simulated that in our, depending on how we have different products, this is the most optimal path to stock the shelves. Yeah. So you can simulate that within the Visual Components, take the path, overlay it in Twinzo, and then watch real-time data and position of the people who are stocking the shelves in retail, if they are really following the path. If not, then they are wasting the time. They could done twice as much within their shift, or you could have less people to do the same job. So this is something that we are able to work, but it's a collaboration of multiple technologies, because there is, and this is something that I find true every time, there is no silver bullet. There is not one technology that solves all your problems. Rather, it's an ecosystem that works together to solving customer needs.
Thank you. And that is precisely the point, as Thomas mentioned, why we're doing this webinar, why we wanted to show how it all comes together using the ecosystem, how we can help. Thank you, Thomas, for that. And the next one again is for you. Are all of the data producing elements shown in factory simulation produced by initially 3D scanning the as-built land, machines, or buildings, or they have been built using CAD or BIM library components? Very, very technical.
Yeah. So again, that depends on the customer needs. So we do have, for a lot of customers, we build models by hand because they have nothing. And when you have just 2D layout of an old building and nothing, then the cheapest way is to actually build a good enough replica for visualization purposes by hand. And for that, we are using library components and changing colors on it. The second option is to actually use Visual Components, which has a very powerful 3D environment to build the 3D models. And they do have a library of 1,000 or more than 1,600 industrial machines from which you are able to build. And based on that, you can export it to Twinzo. Or you can use a 3D scanning if you are really going for high accuracy. So 3D scanning is usually used for the customers that has two main requirements. It needs to be precise. So I really want to use that also for a facility management. If I need to, I don't know, create a new door here, move a pipe or something like that. So facility manage with high precision in the millimeter range. That's the one requirement. And the second, they want to do it periodically. So if you are looking into, we have a customer and they are doing a scan of all the facility every year for the facility management purposes. And Twinzo is using that because they already paid it. And we are utilizing the same model, same underlying data for visualization. So it's up to the customer what he wants to get out of it. If it's just a visualization, we can do it easily through manual and a library of components. If you want higher precision, then visual components and others. And if you really want to have a high precision and a high fidelity, then laser scanning is for you. And also it does depends on your budget, so how deep the pockets are. And the last one is, how is the time of Twinzo deployment for the factory example? So usually the fastest we had was like 3 hours. If you have everything, then the Twinzo is a ready-made platform, DIY, everything configuration. So you load up the model, connect the API. With Coupa, we can do it like, if you have a Coupa installed, then it's just a configuration. If you have a model, we just load it up, and in under 2 hours, you can be up and running. If you have nothing, then it depends what you want, but usually we are able to talk about weeks. Not longer of the actual work. So usually we install in a 5 to 10 days if there is also hardware installation. So that's usually 5 to 10 days, few days for configuration, and then you are done. But to be completely honest, usually it takes around 6 months to deploy a project. 5 months we wait for purchase order, and then in the 6th month we do everything. So that's the reality. Like whatever project we are solving, the bureaucracy on the customer side is always the slowest part of the deployment. Yeah, and that goes from the longest we had like 3 years. So till we got all the through all the bureaucracy. It took 3 years for the customer to actually get the budget in place, approved, COVID hit, and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's the answer. And I think Abhiraj and Rene can also talk to the point that the longest part is the actually get the purchase order. That's the longest part of any implementation.
Yeah. I mean, if I want to add something to that, is like what you mentioned the last in your presentation, I think is very important. Although to get to a productive system can take quite long. That's one side. But to get started with finding out if this technology creates value for you, you can start that right now just by contacting one of us actually and evaluate by, downloading the app or ordering a proof of concept from Coupa or Actility, so that you can really find out if this technology is for you. So this is what you can do right now, actually.
I was about to say that. I mean, Thomas just hit it right on the head that it goes back and forth a long time before it is finalized. But of course, as Rene said, that is why we had this webinar, and you can actually start learning. You can actually start for POC, or if you have any project needs, just contact any one of us. And while I was going through my slides, I showed you the one-stop solution. Well, that is, you can purchase it on our marketplace and look to, contact us for any of your needs. So with that, I think we are done with the Q&A. There are a couple of people who are asking, are you going to provide the recording or are you going to email? Yes, we are. So we've recorded the session. We're going to email the recording and as well as the link to the slides. So you'll be having everything. Of course, we have discussed some technical points, business values, and so on. You'll have the access to it. And I do hope to maybe you'll contact either one of us. I do hope to see that in mail or messages. Feel free. These are our emails provided at the end. And with that, I do believe the webinar has come to a close. Thank you everyone for participating. I saw there was massive interest. A lot of people were enthusiastic, asking questions. Great participation. Thank you, Rene. Thank you, Thomas, for explaining in detail about the sophisticated technologies and how it all comes together. And with that, I think we can close the webinar recording. Thank you so much, everyone, and
Thank
hope
you
you
very
have
much.
a great rest of the day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.